Welcome to our podcast on partnering. I'm Elizabeth Johnson.
I'm Kayla Reynolds.
I'm Rachel Hinton, and we are EDM 310 students at the University of South Alabama.
In this podcast, we will be answering some questions about partnering. We'll be discussing what partnering is, student and teacher roles in partnering, the benefits of partnering, and how to facilitate it in the classroom.
So, what exactly is partnering? We've heard of students being partners in school, but we've never heard of the students and the teachers being partners.
Partnering can mean different things to different people. Mark Prensky says that partnering means letting students focus on the parts of the learning process that they do best and letting the teachers focus on the part of the learning process that they can do best as well. Partnering is the very opposite of teaching by telling.
Partnering isn't a new idea. It's a lot like project-based learning that we've been learning about for the past few weeks. Prensky prefers partnering over project-based learning, the term, because it really emphasizes the roles of each group, teachers and students. They're equal. Rather than lecture or even explaining, the teacher can simply give students questions to be answered and suggest possible tools or places to begin instead of just giving it to them and that being it.
So there are two different roles to partnering. There are student roles and there's teachers' roles. So what are they?
Prensky compares students to rockets, needing to be fueled properly by teachers, but they're programmed with self-directing capabilities, and then we send them to new places. It's far more respectable of students than the old view of viewing students as empty vessels that need to be filled with knowledge.
One of the student roles as a student is a researcher, and it is, instead of telling students what they need to do, it is requiring them to go out and research it on their own, and then they share it with their peers and teachers for evaluations. And one example Mark Prensky states in his book is that there is a teacher talking to their classroom and asking which option they would prefer. Either the teacher stand up in front of the classroom and lecture them, or the teacher is telling them the topic, they have to go out and research it on their own. And to nobody's surprise, the students of course pick the second option where they have to go out and research it on their own instead of being lectured.
Another role of students is the students as self-teachers. Students can teach themselves. They are not dependent on the teacher to feed them the information that they need. So if the students are not dependent on the teachers, then what are the teacher roles?
One role is the teacher as a coach and a guide, and the teachers have daily and long-term goals for their classroom as a whole, and then they go and set the students free to reach these goals on his or her own way, providing assistance when they need it. And the role of the guide implies taking students on a journey. It allows teachers to provide a much more personalized information for students.
Another teacher role is teachers as a goal setter and questioner. Last week, of course, we talked about the importance of questioning in the classroom, and of course, questions are needed in the classroom in order to allow students to engage in critical thinking and thinking for themselves. This role is almost always as guiding questions for students to answer, which are typically open-ended and include both overarching questions and more detailed questions as well.
Another teacher role is teacher as a learning designer. We as teachers, we need to make it interesting. You don't want your students to become disengaged. You want them to stay engaged. So instead of just PowerPoints and worksheets, lectures, we need to make it different. So if the teachers and students fulfill these roles, what kind of benefits are we looking at?
One benefit is partnering will allow students to be independent learners, not depending on the teacher for all the information. For one thing, most students prefer to take an active role and find out things for themselves instead of the teacher just telling them everything they need to know anyway.
And by doing this, they become more engaged in the learning. Partnering offers a different way of learning for students and helps to eliminate burp bag education, which is where the students simply spit back the information that they were fed by the teachers. So what can students and teachers actually do to facilitate these roles into their classroom?
When you decide to begin partnering, if you do in your classroom, don't make it a secret. Tell others about what you're doing. Tell other colleagues and teachers and students and parents. Just don't make it a secret.
You can also gain the help of others who have enlisted this type of learning in their classroom. They can give you examples of what you can do. You can also go online and research things and find different tools that you can use.
There are many ways that you can incorporate partnering into the classroom. One way is to give students the topic, allow them to research the topic. They could research it online or in their community or talk to others, and then have them present it back to the class. So that's one example of how you can use partnering in the classroom.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for watching our podcast on partnering, and we hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot about partnering.